Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Angry and Ornery Show. This has been a real challenge, this particular show. We have been fraught with technical problems over the last couple of episodes, as well as trying to get this show up and running. No fault of anybody's in particular. We just had some technical glitches, and we're learning. This will be our fifth show, so we're actually trying some new things. One of the things that's new that you should be aware of is that we're no longer on Twitch, at least not this particular episode. We're using Livestream. The information for Livestream will be on your screen here. And we have a new camera person here, a gentleman kind enough to learn how to do this with us. His name is Florian, and he'll be helping us out when and wherever he can. Thank you, Florian, for your help thus far. We have a special guest tonight, so tonight's show is going to be really cool. We have a gentleman that I met through Second Life, the group, the Builders Brewery, by the name of Quantum Chaos Portal. What a mysterious name. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about building tonight on Second Life, and give us maybe some hints on the use of mesh and some other creative tools that you can use. But anyways, I want to welcome the studio audience here and all of you out on the stream. Tell your friends. Please jump on the live stream and join us live, or sign into Second Life and be part of our studio audience, and maybe you'll be on the stream. This will be recorded and then edited and put on YouTube in the next couple of days, so make sure you go to YouTube. That information is going to be also here below me, and you can see the show in whole there at the Angry and Ornery channel. Let's bring out my co-host, if you will, Mr. Lionheart. Can you stumble your way out here without walking into a wall, tripping over a table, or falling off the stage? How you doing?
Maybe I can do some of those things. Maybe I cannot. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. You actually made it out without walking over a table this time. So.
That's darn it! I'll try hard this time.
How have you been? I know we've haven't filmed, and we had to skip a week because of last week where we had some issues. But what's new and exciting in your life these days?
I was able to see my toes shop. That's exciting.
Is that because you lost weight?
No. It's because I had a bottle in my hand and it was pushing just right on my stomach, so it was moving it back so that way I could see my toes.
So you didn't lose weight?
No.
So you're still fat, drunk, and stupid?
I am not stupid, sir.
Oh, okay. No, you're not. Let's have a seat then and get on with this. Talk about a couple of things before we bring Quantum out. What is on your mind these days in the world of movies?
Actually, in the way of movies, I am very, very sad right now.
Oh.
You and I did not speak of it yet, but have you heard very sad news today?
Yes, Bob yeah.
Hoskins. Bob Hoskins.
Hoskins, thank you.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
He passed away today at the age of 71 from
pneumonia.
Yeah, and that's a great loss. It's very sad. But what I didn't know was he had actually officially retired from acting in 2012 because he was diagnosed back then with Parkinson's, and I did not know that.
I didn't know he had Parkinson's at all.
Yeah, no, and that's why he stopped making films for the past few years, and of course now he has passed. So we have lost another legendary great actor. They really don't
Not to sound unsympathetic, but I mean, I know he's most famous for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but he was Irish, right? I mean, he was an actor from Ireland, and didn't he make a lot of movies there in Great Britain?
Well, he was actually English, primarily.
Oh, was he English? Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I thought he was Irish.
no. He did do a lot of the indie films and stuff like that, but he was one of those actors who never really got a chance, other than Roger Rabbit, to actually be the star of the film. He was always, one of those character actors that you always knew his face, but a lot of people didn't know his name. So
Help me out here. What was the name of the movie that he was in? I believe either right before Roger Rabbit or right after, where he played a gang boss. Which I think that's where I got confused about him being Irish, because I think it was about the IRA, and he was involved with that.
There was a couple films like that, but his big one that everybody was his quote breakout film right before Roger Rabbit is he started a film called Mona Lisa, and it was himself and Michael Caine, where Bob Hoskins played a gentleman who just got out of prison and was driving around a high-priced call girl that he fell in love with.
I see.
But yeah, that was gritty London gang style film. That's the one that really put him out in the forefront. And then unfortunately his only other, granted he's in a lot of great films, but Roger Rabbit was his only major starring vehicle on his own.
In the States.
Right. Everything else after that was, he was Smee in Robin Williams' version of Hook, and
right.
Mario Brothers, but he never really had another great chance at starring as a film.
Yeah, he took a lot of risks with quirky, fandom type movies, and I don't think it really worked out too well. But
no.
Anyways, also in the news, we've been talking about it in past episodes. I think we both liked it. Was Almost Human was officially canceled today.
Yeah, an idiot at Fox doing it.
Now, I heard a conflicting report that this was just on social media, that they were talking about, because of the fans' uproar of it being canceled now, that they may renew it for 13 more episodes. Did you catch that too?
I have not heard that Fox has any plans. A lot of people are really hoping, because what happens nowadays when a show gets canceled, it kind of almost goes up for auction anymore, and another network has the opportunity of picking it up. And a lot of people maybe.
I was just going to say that started with Buffy the Vampire Slayer going to the CW.
Right. It was Buffy the Vampire went to CW. Stargate was originally on Showtime, and that ended up going to Sci-Fi Network, and that had a longer run there. So people are really hoping either Netflix, because they're now doing their own series now, or Sci-Fi Channel, or one of them.
Well, I hope it does. As you know, I don't do Netflix. I refuse to do Netflix only because I have a monster collection of DVDs, and it's kind of senseless for me to join Netflix. But I hope it does go to Netflix, because it seemed like that show, Almost Human, wanted to be grittier and wanted to be, a little more edgier, but they couldn't because Fox was kind of straining them back. But I think if it goes into a Netflix situation, they'll unleash it. It'll become real dark and gritty real quick.
Well, I think what the big problem stems from is I personally don't think the Fox network knows how to handle sci-fi. If you look at their track record, I mean, we've got Almost Human that just got the axe way too early. Look at Firefly and Dollhouse.
Oh, don't even talk about Firefly.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they don't give it a chance. It's like they almost want it to fail, and I've never understood that. So,
and don't forget, I mean, this is J.J. Abrams too producing. So I think maybe he's really busy right now with his hands filled with the Star Wars movies,
which they just now fully announced the cast today.
Yep. A lot of no names, or people that most people have not heard of, playing the younger cast members. Of course, the old cast is back, almost all of them. I think everybody but Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, everybody is back for their original roles. Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Anthony Daniels, Peter Mayhew, Kenny Baker. They're all back. There's two additions that they have now that are very interesting to me, and that's the great character slash CGI actor Andy Serkis is going to be in the new films.
Right, and
So,
they actually got the one of the old writers. I forget his name. He penned the second and third screenplay. He's writing this current movie, so
right.
yeah.
Right, and
That
also I mean, everybody else is unknowns except for Circus, and also they got legendary Max von Sydow
yeah,
to be
I
in.
thought
And,
once I saw that, I
yeah,
knew you were going to enjoy it. I see him as a dark Sith of some sort, don't you?
you know what? That would be fantastic. You know, you need a villain. You need a villain that is likable, and not to sound bad or racist or stereotyping, but if you think about the original three films, your empire was built up of European-sounding British and or German actors playing the
It's
villains,
true. It's true. Anybody with a thick
and it
accent
worked.
was a villain.
Yeah, yeah, and it worked, and so hopefully maybe we're gonna have a strong character there because he's a very
Max is
strong.
he's a great
Yeah,
actor. I mean, he's been in so many films that a lot of smaller films that people may have not seen, but certainly the ones he's been in have been terrific. All the way back
yeah,
to The Black Hole with Disney's Black Hole.
that's Maximum Shell.
Oh, I'm sorry. What? Wrong Max, right?
Wrong Max. Max von Sydow is infamous for Bergman's The Seventh Seal, the very famous
That's right.
the knight playing a game of chess with death for his life. So, yes. But, should be interesting. We'll see what happens. So, anything fun and
Indeed.
exciting happening with you and your part of the world?
Yes, we are. When I say we, my family and I are currently in the middle of Game of Thrones, trying to get through them. We don't have HBO, so we're watching what would it be, the third series, getting near the end of the third series, and this is one of those situations where we can't really talk about it too deeply because there'll be too many spoilers, and I got a lot of guff from last week's show, or last time we filmed, because we talked about, what was it that we were revealing information about? Was it...
I don't. Talking about
was it... yeah, it
Walking
was...
Dead.
Walking Dead, right? When we revealed some things about Walking Dead, people are like, "Dude, you can't say that stuff." And, well, we warned you. So I won't reveal too much other than one little bit. This may be a spoiler if you're not past season 3. So don't listen if you're not past season 3. They're currently, airing season 4. But I got to the point where Khaleesi, the beautiful dragon queen, finally showed what she's made of. And she got her army, and I won't get into the details, but dude, that was like one of the most coolest, powerful scenes in the Game of Thrones, I think, the entire show so far. I mean, I've always liked that character, but yeah, that's as far as I'm gonna go. It's just watch that character. That character's awesome. So, are you watching it, Lionheart?
No, I am not. I have not had time.
It's
I
become a
have
cultural phenomenon, dude. Why aren't you watching it?
I have the first two or three things here. I've been getting a little behind with doing things, so I will eventually catch up one weekend.
Nothing like getting a little behind. Hey, whoa. All right,
Oh,
listen. Enough of that silliness. We are going to move on now, and let's bring our special guest out here. And ladies and gentlemen, if you will give it up, please, for our special guest, Quantum Chaos Portal. Please come on out.
Hi there.
Hi there. Grab a chair. If Lionheart's not in your way, that is.
I moved way out of his way.
Yeah,
As a matter
right
of
now
fact,
into the
yeah,
audience.
I was the audience for a minute.
Nice. How you doing, Quantum?
I'm doing okay.
Great, great. So I met you through the Builders Brewery, which you were awful nice to try to help me with a problem, a building problem I was having back then. Um, how long have you been involved in that group, and what is your involvement in that group for that matter?
Really, the only thing I do in there is if someone needs help and I know the answer, I get it out to them before someone else does.
Nice.
Other
Yeah,
than
you.
that, I have no real involvement with them.
What when people bring problems to you, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of them. What's the most common, do you think, that people can't figure out on their own?
Um, that's a hard one because there's all different levels of people, their experience levels. Um, there's people that they just have basic prim problems, like they can't get certain things to match up correctly, and that's an issue that takes a lot of patience to figure out. Um,
Indeed. Go on.
and then there's also texture issues, like they drop a texture on it and it doesn't look right because they need to reformat it some, turn up the repeats on it so that it doesn't look so huge.
Right. The I think it would be best to let the audience, and we have to assume that there's people out there that are not builders or really don't know anything about Second Life. So, like a quickie crash course. When you log into Second Life, everything that you see around you is built by the users, the common folk like you and I. And to do that, you have a editing ability to create a prim, which is short for a primitive object, and those include cubes and spheres and whatever all the other shapes are, most of which I can't pronounce. But anyways, you can then manipulate those items into things that look more presentable or realistic, like the desk in front of me, or the coffee cup to my left, or the flowers on the coffee table, or whatever. So when you start doing that and doing it over and over again, you become good at it, and you eventually can get to the point where you can do stuff that Quantum can do. Taking it from that level, Quantum, tell the audience what are the potential things that you can do with these primitives.
Potentially, you can build anything you could ever think of seeing in real life, and things that you could never build in real life, you could build in here, and it'll look nearly as well as, I mean, it's not going to be like PC game quality stuff because, most of the people here start out knowing nothing about creation, building in SL, so they're at a much lower level of understanding how certain things work. And as you progress through it, you come to realize that the primitives they're okay as a starting point, but eventually you have to move on to the two other forms of building in SL, which you can't directly build in SL. You have to use an external software most of the time to build, like Sculpties. And Sculpties are basically a post-processing event.
Well, let me slow you down there for a second. So, when Second Life first appeared, most everybody was building in prims, and then shortly after
that was all there was.
right, and then shortly after that, because of secondary programs, Sculpties were beginning to be made. And then it's kind of evolving even now in Mesh in the last couple of years. Mesh has come into the scene. So you mentioned that certain programs outside of Second Life are needed to accomplish these kind of things. What are, I don't want to plug any particular brand or anything, but what are these programs, and what would a serious builder need outside of Second Life to do such things?
They are, well, you can get general purpose 3D modeling tools like Blender or stuff like Hexagon, and there's other softwares that are, you know, way below budget or for other people to use. Like, well, Blender is free. Bryce is like $20. There's other ones like Hexagon. Hexagon is made by Daz 3D, and it's a general purpose 3D modeling software. So you can build mesh with it. You can also build sculpties with them, and you just save it out as the format that SL requires for mesh and upload it. But
Now,
there's
what
a lot more
are
to it.
Oh, I'm sure. Like with something with Blender, I hear people using that a lot. Is there obviously Blender wasn't invented for Second Life? Was it not connected to like a Photoshop situation where you can manipulate both artwork and still pictures?
No, Blender has nothing to do with Photoshop.
Oh.
It has elements that you can do 2D work in, but it was built to be a open source 3D modeling tool that people that don't have the money to go out and buy the professional stuff like ZBrush and Maya, which
I've
are
heard of
both,
Maya.
industry standard 3D modeling tools. And so if they can't afford it, they go looking for other things. There's plenty of ones out there that's free, and a lot of them are really good, especially the newer versions of them. They are getting to the point where it's almost unnecessary to buy the professional versions because they're just that good. They've figured out all the little kinks that a normal open source software might have in their early years, and so
It
they are
sounds a lot
definitely
like the video editing program software. Originally you had to spend $800 to $1,000 on movie editing software, but now you can get a program like Magix for $30 or whatever off the counter shelf, and it does the same thing as some of the big movie editing software does. So, did you say Blender was free?
Yes, Blender is free, and it actually does a lot more than just 3D modeling. You can do video editing through it, and it has a game engine in it. So you could build components for a game, and if you know the coding, you can code the game through Blender and actually produce a fully usable game. And
That's
create
awesome.
the trailers for it all through Blender. But Blender is very hard to get into. I mean, it's gotten better through the years, but it's kind of ass backwards to the way most professional 3D modeling tools work.
Mm-hmm.
And like their wording and how the buttons are used. It's basically they pulled all their resources of know-how to get a semi-usable version out, and then they've just spent years of updates to make it more user-friendly.
Cool. Did you say it was an open source program where
Yes,
people
it's open
had
source.
to? Okay.
So people can create their own plugins for it to use other softwares with it directly, like Photoshop or ZBrush, or even the professional ones.
Now, do you think that it's still possible to create realistic or at least functional things just inside Second Life using Second Life's editor? Or do most builders throw all that away now and use these outside programs?
It's hard to say. It's really a process. If you are absolutely brand new to building, I would absolutely say learn to use prims to begin with, because it, what you learn with prims you can directly apply to building with mesh and sculpties. Well, maybe not so much sculpties, but definitely with mesh. And there's a sim in SL called the Ivory Tower of Primitives,
Mm-hmm.
and it is like the best place you could ever go if you're brand new to, to building in Second Life.
Who
To
created that, by the way? Is that Linden Labs, or was that a private party?
I'm not quite sure. I think it was someone that was just very new in, when SL first came out, and but it's been basically officially sanctioned by Second Life as like
Right.
the leading builder's place to go for learning how to do primitives, because they have these modular training stations. So you go to each station, you don't have to do them all at one time, and it gives you a note card and it gives you a visual of how it works, and it's just really great for people that are brand new to
Yep. And
building.
then right next to it, right next door, there's a sandbox, so you can take what you've
Right.
learned and go over there and try it out. And
And
I
and
took
there's sandboxes everywhere in SL that nobody really has to buy land if they want to just come in SL and create.
right. A sandbox, folks, are places that you can actually pull things out of your inventory and build these pull out these prims and create prims and then eventually turn them into things. So with with your level of building at this point, you're using a lot of mesh now. Can you explain, maybe as simply as you can, what the process of mesh is for a newbie who may be wanting to start doing mesh? He's built some things with the Second Life prims, and now he wants to move on to mesh.
Okay. The easiest way to explain mesh is when you're building with primitives, the only thing you're manipulating is the individual primitives. And, stretching them out or changing their where they are in the scene, or uh, changing their rotations. And you're not manipulating anything but the primitives themselves. But with mesh, you get to go down to a much finer detail, so you can move individual edges on, say, a cube, and you can move the points, the vertices of each object as well. So you can create much more complicated objects with very few faces and
The way
polygons.
the way I understand it too is that with a prim you have just the surface of the prim. So if you have a cube, there'd be 6 surfaces. With mesh, you can actually get, like you said, a lot deeper, and the surfaces have many more facets. Is that true?
Yes. What SL sees, or what you see in SL, is only on a surface level of how the model is actually built. What it really has for each face is either a triangle or a square for each face, and SL particularly uses triangles. So whenever you see one single face in a cube, it's really two triangles that's connected,
I
and
see.
that that helps with texturing. It makes it where it's more uniform, um, but it also increases increases the polygon count. And so one of the big problems with prims versus mesh is when you're finished building a prim object, you have all these faces that are not needed because they're just hidden inside of each other to build the
Right.
object.
Right.
And with mesh, it's basically a watertight seal. So if you poked a hole in a mesh piece and poured water into it, it would completely fill up inside, and there'd be nothing inside of it. and there would be no way of the water coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with a primitive object, it would be like a whole bunch of buckets all tangled inside of each other, so the water would be going everywhere.
That's a great analogy. Yeah, that's a great way of calling it. Just by saying that there's surfaces that aren't seen or used. Like if you were to make a table, and it had just a flat surface and 4 legs, the top of each leg would be butted up against the bottom of the table, and the bottom, right? So that's a lot of surfaces that aren't seen or used, but yet is still taking up memory use when it's rezzed out into Second Life, correct?
Right.
And mesh eliminates that.
Yes. Another thing that is a lot of new people that build don't quite understand, but they should, because it affects everyone in a sim for their objects, is the texture resolution.
Yes.
A lot of people want to put the highest resolution textures in their objects because, it looks better. But
right.
It only looks better to a certain degree, and depending on the size of those textures, you really don't need as big as you might think. Like, say you had an object that was only like, half a meter in width and height. You probably would not need more than a 256 by 256 texture for it to look just as good as the 1024 by 1024 that most people put on there. And
I can tell you from firsthand as a newbie builder, I was doing just that. I was bringing in really big textures, and I couldn't figure out why they just
why really big ones.
I just found that they weren't loading fast. The surface of the things you couldn't see. So.
And the reason is what I was just saying. The 256 by 256. That's 1/16 the total kilobytes for how much it costs bandwidth wise than a 1024, and you can't tell any difference at a distance. So it's really not worth it, and it greatly increases the total bandwidth for each item.
Sure. I learned that through Photoshop, actually. A buddy of mine that designs web pages showed me that they have a feature in all of the current Photoshops that it's Save for Web. And in the Save for Web feature, unlike the other saves...
That's been around for 20 years.
I just, I'm learning. I'm learning. So this is in the past couple of years I learned this. So the Save for Web feature allows you to not only reduce the size, but the the aspect ratio and all that, but the quality too. So now you said 2 something. I actually generally go with 200 by 200 if I can, and then I set it for medium.
You kind of want to keep with a 4x4 kind of format. You don't want to have non-uniform resolutions. Like it'd be like 256, 512, 1024. It just, for whatever reason, when it comes to digital textures, it's best to use in a 4:4 format. I mean, you can have 3:4 whatever for aspect ratio, but you want to keep them in those particular texture numbers, resolution numbers.
And it really is, whether it's mesh or sculpt or prim. I mean, textures really finalize your build here in Second Life. I mean, you bring in a good texture, and it will make something crappy look really good, in my opinion.
Especially when you're trying to put a lot of detail into something that is very low prim. You can pack a lot of detail into the textures that you don't have to build.
An example,
if it's something that's going to be very small in a large room or something like that.
Sure. I just did that today. This morning, I'm building this secret project that I keep talking about. Keep your ears tuned. Actually, Quantum, you know about it, but nobody else does. But I needed a key rack, something that you would see in a hotel behind the front desk. You know, the old-fashioned slots with keys. Well, you know, if I were to build, you know, a key rack with all those hooks and all those keys, and you're talking 20, 30 prims. So all I did is made a one. Yeah, I found a beautiful texture, a front texture of a key rack. It had slots with keys hanging on them, and imported that in. It was a public domain picture. Imported that in and slapped it on a one prim box, and I got to tell you, it looks really, really nice. So, you know, you can build very complicated things with a lot of detail, just a single prim with a nice texture. You know, I've been asking and talking to you too much. Lionheart, you're my co-host. You're supposed to be doing some co-hosting here. Tell me you have some questions or something that you'd like to ask Mr. Quantum.
You lost after hello.
You're not a builder, are you?
No, I am not. I'm a
Did we get too egghead on you?
a little bit, but it's okay. My head is finally starting to stop hurting. So, but it's okay. It's okay.
Well,
now.
you've been on for a year or so. Eventually, you're going to want to start building, right?
Maybe not. I don't think I'm going to be inept and able to do it myself without having things go horribly wrong.
Well, what would be the first question you would have, given this opportunity to ask Quantum, to build something simple? I mean, I know you've dabbled with it because I remember your sushi cart. What do you think? What do you think you would need to know? I mean, ask him what you would need to know.
He actually already answered it with Ivory Towers about where would somebody go to start to learn things, and he already answered that question for me. And that would be my first thing: is how to get on the road of starting to do it yourself, and you know what ideas he could shoot to somebody who wants just to start to play and dabble. Where would be a good place for them to go to?
Yeah, I'll put the Slurl for the Ivory Towers up there. I've actually taken the whole course. It's kind of like a college course, and you have to dedicate yourself. I mean, set aside an hour or two because it may take you a while to get through. If you want to go all the way, you start on the ground floor and you take a course after course, and it kind of winds its way up to the very top. In Quantum, what is there, like 5, 6 levels?
At least, yeah. There's probably about 6 levels. I haven't been in a couple of years.
Yeah, it's really fun to go back to, even though you've, if you've taken the course once, take it again, because you'll always remember, learn new things and reteach yourself stuff. But.
And I actually spent my first 3 months in SL doing nothing but looking over the stuff in Ivory Tower and playing in the sandbox building. And, I mean, it only took me like a couple days to actually go through it the first time, but given my background, I wanted to learn everything there was to know about prims. And
well, that's what I wanted to ask you next, and we are kind of running out of time here. I see the clock moving very quickly on this one. I could talk to you all day, this kind of nerd talk, but what is your background in real life? I mean, what drove you to Second Life, and what do you do any other type of game design? And, give us a little bit of, you don't have to reveal any personal stuff, but I mean, what basically is your background? College, anything like that?
I went to college to learn 3D environment modeling, which is mainly used for TV or movie, to build the environments that you would see in a TV show.
That's awesome.
And so, even though that was my official major for it, I learned a wide range of abilities, building, rigging, texturing. That's always there. But I learned video editing. Everything that you would need to know to build or to do something on a production level. I had to go through, and this was not one of those 3 classes a day or 3 classes a week kind of school. It was 60 hours a week, 6 days a week, and most of the classes or most of the labs were like at 3 to 5 a.m. starting. So it was not an easy way. But since then, I mean that.
When are you gonna work for Pixar, dude?
Yeah, not gonna happen. Even though that's what I went in for, I found out because my roommate was in game design at the same time. I started to lean more towards doing game development and learning how to, build game assets at a high optimizing level, so that it's the least amount of physical stuff, but it still looks really great. And that was over 12 years ago that I started any kind of 3D modeling, and so I know a little thing about it.
Sure.
And
Do you think
I've definitely tried to apply it in here?
Do you think there's more money in game design or in movie special effect design?
These days, I would definitely say game design, but
Yeah, I would agree.
It's
I mean,
a thin line, because if it's independent stuff, there's a lot of money to be made. But
Sure.
if it's the stuff that's already established, the people that are doing the grunt work are not getting paid what they should be. They're doing way more than what they're being asked to do to begin with.
Sure.
For their pay scales.
Have you personally worked on any games that we may have heard of or released?
No.
Okay.
I never actually got to get into the industry, but I certainly have tried to weasel my way in Second Life through doing custom models. I started out in SL doing custom sculpties, back before Mesh was in SL. And since then, I have evolved into doing Mesh, which I already knew how to do Mesh outside of SL. And so it's been a great transition to go from, 10 prims per sculpty into 50 to 100 prims per sculpty equivalent.
Nice.
Per Mesh equivalent.
Talk about the rewards in Second Life. What kind of financial gain can there be for builders here in this world?
I would say if you know your stuff and you're good at marketing, there's really not much of a limit as long as you market to the right people. I mean, it's definitely better than. Is
it reasonable to say that? I mean, there's a lot of people that do this as their career. I mean, they're officially
Right.
builders in Second Life. Can you make comparable paychecks? I've heard the stories. I've certainly know people like the designers over at Studio Sky. They make thousands of dollars a week, thousands of dollars real cash a week. Is it reasonable to think that you can make a regular paycheck here just building and selling things?
It is, but it's not a cake walk in the park.
Right.
It definitely takes a lot of trial and error, even if you are doing it professionally outside of SL. I would say that having experience with the going-ons of SL is as important as your building skills. So if you don't know where to go to market your stuff to the people, nobody's ever going to find it, because it's just a wave of or a flood of stuff. I mean, you go to the marketplace and there's like 3 million items on the marketplace over the last 11 years of SL.
Growing every hour.
Right. So if you don't know how to market your stuff, you're never going to see any sales.
Right. You can't just build that popsicle stand and expect people to find it. You really, just like real life, you have to know marketing too. So if you're going to build in Second Life, come in with marketing skills.
And social skills for learning where the people are and how to
Connecting
get
with
in.
groups and such.
Right.
Anyways, we'll stand up here and thank you. Wow, I'm standing right up in my desk. That's because I'm magic. Thank you, Quantum, for coming and giving us a kind of a crash course on building. Actually, it's improved my enthusiasm for building. I mean, I really haven't dabbled with mesh or sculpting yet, but I think I'm going to go find me a copy of Blender and start jumping into that craziness.
If anyone that watches this has any building problems and they're looking for solutions, you can IM me anytime in SL, and I will try to help.
And your full name here on SL is Quantum Chaos, first name, and Portal, second. Quantum Chaos Portal. And I'm, as always, Zoltan Mint, and my co-host Lionheart. Thank you again. Thank you to Cami Larimore. We use the beautiful Larimore Estates, specifically Staccato, for our studio. And thank you for the studio audience that came in today to watch us. Look for the show on YouTube in about 2 or 3 days, and subscribe to the Angry and Ornery channel. If you want to be on our show, or if you want to get involved in Second Life, send me an email. I'll put that email, actually the email's at the end of this show at the credits. So get a hold of us and get involved. It's a lot of fun, guys. Thank you again, and everyone, good night.